Yeah, breaking news as we're live. Fabrizio has just tweeted that Arsenal have agreed terms of Ricardo Calafiori's contract, valid until 2029. Arsenal and Bologna are discussing a fee as request remains around 50 million euros. FC Basel will receive 50% of that sale, but Fabrizio has now confirmed that the personal terms are fully agreed until 2009. Potsy, there are some gooners that still don't think this is happening. Surely this deal is going to get over the line. What's your opinion, bro?
Bloody hope so, mate. When you're linked with someone for a few days, and I've been there before where you're linked. I mean, Jan and Veer, he must have passed his medical by now. Higuain, he must have passed his Arsenal medical by now. Karim Benzema's another one. He must have. Salomon Kalou, we were linked with him for about 5 seasons running. He must have passed his medical by now. So I have seen it before. However, this one does sound good. When Fabrizio Romano's tweeting that, it sounds very good indeed. I know for a fact that we're really, a lot of Arsenal fans are talking about this one now being fairly exciting. I'm not going to be naive enough to say that I know a lot about him, Terry, but everything that I hear about him is good things. I know that people were talking about his Euros performance, how good he was, very comfortable on the ball. I think Arsenal will play him at left back. He can play left centre back as well. He's a very good ball carrier from what I can see. His passing range is there. I think his long range of passing is pretty good as well. But he's a proper good defender, man. And when you get, I was trying to think because 90% of the Italian centre halves or defenders stay in Italy. So I'm really surprised at this one because I think Juventus and a few other clubs were looking at him as well in Italy. And most of the Italian defenders over the years have stayed in Italy. The top quality ones I'm talking about as well. So I think this could be a very promising signing. He's very young. He's 22 years old. I was having a conversation with Staffy and Mo Salah last night on my channel who believe that they wouldn't be surprised if Gabriel is the one that they look to long-term replace. Now, I don't think we're breaking that partnership up for a while yet. Let me tell you that. But if you're looking at Saliba's age and Calafiori's age, they're both similar. I think they're both 22 years old. So it could be that if he is to be a centre-back in the future, that he could be long-term there for Arsenal. But I think he's going to come in and be a left-back. He's very versatile. A lot of people will then question mark what that means for Jurriën Timber. But he has had a long ACL injury. We don't know what we're going to get from Jurriën Timber this coming year. So I think there could be definite competition for places there. And also he can play in a number of positions as well. We've got quite versatile players now along that back line. If you look at what Tomiyasu has been for Arsenal, it's been right back, left back, centre back. Also, you look at what Ben White has been. I think you look now at what Timber is, and Calafiori's in that bracket as well. So, yeah, I like the signing. I think it's one that Mikel Arteta and Edu have clearly looked at and highlighted. And I'm really happy that he wants to come and join the project because it could be quite hard, Terry, for Calafiori to look at the options and think, do you know what? There's an opportunity or potential opportunity here for first-team football elsewhere. You're guaranteed first-team football at some of the other clubs that might have been interested. Manchester United might be one of them. Chelsea, to be fair, at the back, not really set and settled. With Chilwell there, Cucurella done much better of late, but Chelsea were interested. He might have looked at that option and thought, I can play first-team football. What I like about it is he feels like he's been sold the project by Edu and Arteta to come in and actually look to go and move forward with Arsenal. So I think this will be a good signing. I actually don't think it's an amazing amount of money. A lot of people will say that's mad money, 50 million euros. It works around about 42 million pounds, I think, for a defender at 22 who's highly rated, that's versatile. I don't think that's that much at all, if I'm honest with you. So when you look at what Jared Branthwaite's now worth, 80 million pounds, I think this could be a very, very clever signing. So yeah, I'm okay with this one, Terry, if this happens for sure.
Yeah, I mean, packs out your squad depth for sure. But someone made a good point, and it brings me back to when we signed Scamacca. There was a lot of talks of Italian players in the Premier League and how they get homesick, and I was like, nah, like come on, like Scamacca's going to be up for it. It's the Premier League, and he did, and he got homesick, and he went back to Italy. So there is that. I think there's a risk, and that's why we see, like you said yourself, you don't see many Italian defenders, you don't see many Italian players coming over to the Prem. So that is the worry. He's a young lad as well. I mean, if he does come over and he gets homesick and ends up wanting to leave, and I don't know what the resale value will be. Luckily, he's young, so you could get a bit of resale value. But if you sell him back to an Italian club, you're probably making a loss on him. So, but it's good for your squad depth, like you said, squad depth. I didn't see that as a massive area you really needed to improve on. I think that's probably one of your deeper areas when it comes to depth is the defense. But look, if it's not gonna impact your transfer budget too much, then yeah, it's not a bad thing. You can still address those other areas. Do you know what I mean? And it's a weird one if you are. I don't know if you're going to primarily play him as a left back. Like I think really, if you want to get Zinchenko out and get a proper left back, really, rather than play this guy who he's a centre back, but he can play left back. Maybe he's going to give you more defensive style when you're going against teams that are maybe going to offer more threat down that left-hand side and you want to have it shore up, maybe in that situation. But you might want someone that can defend, but offer a good outlet going forward as a left back.
We're gonna have to get rid of a couple of players in that position now. Nuno Tavares, apparently they're looking at Ajax are looking at him. Just need to get rid of him for a few million. We're not going to get much more back from him. Kieran Tierney's got a long-term injury, they say now, from his Scotland injury the other week. Another player who seems to be injured. I don't know how we're going to get rid of him now. And if we're going to get any money for him at all, if those injuries keep happening. So that's one player we might end up having to either keep in the squad or try to loan out again. And then obviously Jakub Kiwior. Now, I would rather keep Kiwior in the squad because we need somebody to play left centre back behind Gabriel. We can't sell everybody. And I think you need 8 really. You need 4 centre halves and you need 4 fullbacks, 2 right, 2 left. And I think with Ben White and Tomiyasu at right back, centre backs now of Saliba, Gabriel, and Kiwior, and then of course you've got Timber and Zinchenko and Calafiori. Now, I would 100% sell Zinchenko. I just don't know if there's a bid that's going to come in. Anything close between 25-30, I'd just get rid of him. I just don't rate him defensively enough, if I'm honest. He's not my sort of player. I like him on the ball. Offensively, he's good. And I think what he does on going forward is good. And maybe there's a place for him in midfield. People have spoken about him playing there for Ukraine. But at left back, it ain't for me. But yeah, I think if we were to sign someone, it would have been, for me, my preference would have been somebody to cover Saliba when he gets a knock, not another player who can play at left back. But I like the player himself, Calafiori. So if we do get rid of a couple of players like Zinchenko or Kiwior, if he's upgrading on them, that's cool. But I'm still looking at Saliba thinking, I bloody hope you don't get injured because we have got like Ben White and Tomiyasu that can play there, but they're not really right-sided centre-backs. So yeah, to go for another left-sided midfielder, defender is one that perhaps surprised me a bit, but I'm not surprised by the player. I think he's sounding very, very promising.
I see someone saying that last season was the first time he played centre back. So if he is traditionally left back, why did he play centre back? That's what I'd be interested to know. Why was he playing the whole season as a centre back, and how is he good as he is a left back? What are his qualities that make him like that left back where you won't need to sign someone else, or he's going to be like, because I see some suggestions of Timber on at right back and him at left back. Would you be happy with that? Is that good enough for a team that wants to win the title? You want the best players in the best positions, and rather than all this makeshift, we have to move Timber, even though he's better as a left back, to right back, so Calafiori can play left back rather than.
I don't think Ben White's not moving from right back. He's been phenomenal for the last 2 years, so he's going to play right back. It'll be Saliba at right centre back, Gabriel left centre back, and then it will be Timber or Calafiori at left back for me. And then you've got the Tomiyasus that can come in and cover, Timber or Calafiori who doesn't play to cover, and Kiwior at the moment, if he stays, to cover. My problem is I don't think we have a right-sided centre-back that can come in and slot in like Saliba does. And if that's Ben White, cool. He's a good player there, but he's nothing like Saliba. You've got to try to get a player, and that's difficult as well, to get not as bad of a drop-off from Saliba if he does get a knock. Because we saw what happened the season before last. When Saliba got injured, we had Rob Old in there, and it was just a disaster. So you'd like to think that Timber and Ben White would come in, Tomiyasu would come in and be better than Rob Holding. That's not my qualm. But if we was to get a couple of injuries like we did Tomiyasu and Saliba at the same time, if we was to get Ben White and Saliba injured, who is playing there? Tomiyasu and Timber, or how does it work? So that's where I'm at. But listen, we've got cover, and it's a department that I'm not absolutely worried about. I've got areas of midfield and up top that I'm more worried about than defence. That's for sure.
Grey Wolf's Dinner here, who's a Chelsea fan, says red flag is that Juventus and even his former manager aren't that fussed about missing out on him. Do you see it as Juve are not that fussed, or is it a case of they can't afford the player in the same way you can, or maybe Arsenal have just turned his head in a better way?
I hope that's the latter is the case. I don't know that Juventus have looked at him and scoffed at him and gone, what an absolute shambles of a defender he is. At the same time, I don't know that they haven't done that. But I hear good things, and I would be very shocked if Italian clubs weren't looking at him. I like to think that he's looked at the project at Arsenal and thinks, do you know what? I'd like to come over to England. I'd like to fight for the Premier League title, and I'd like to play Champions League football. And I think people forget Bologna was actually really good last season. You know, Thiago Motta is now the Juventus manager. Obviously, Bologna have got a couple of players there. Joshua Zirkzee, I think, linked with yourself, Terry, as well. A player that's done very well over there. And, you know, we've got a good relationship with Bologna. That's how we signed Tomiyasu, who was at Bologna before. That was a good signing for us, to be fair. I know he's had a few injury problems, but when he has played for Arsenal, he's been very good. So I'd like to think that those are the reasons that we've got him and that he does well at Arsenal if he comes. And I've got a lot of hope for this lad because I hear good things, man.
Apparently, he missed a lot of games with knee injury. He has a history of knee problems. He missed over 568 games.
He'll do Arsenal fine then.
Yeah, that's always a worry, like, you know, his injuries. But yeah, we'll see. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, I didn't. I mean, it's funny enough. I know we were talking earlier. You know, some Arsenal fans online don't think it was going to happen. I said in the early days of this story, I never disregard the foreign press, and I know Fabrizio is a technically foreign media, but he's so integrated in the UK press now as well. I never disregard them. I just sort of bank it. But it is rare for young Italian players that are tipped to be as good as him to leave. In fact, it's rare that the top Italian players leave Italy altogether. But it has happened. You've got Verratti, who went to PSG and had a very good career there as an example. And, you know, Jorginho, been a very good player for Italy in recent years. Excuse me. Been a long week. It came out to Italy as well. So, you know, I'm very, very intrigued to see how this works out. I've read a lot of excellent scouting reports on him before the Euros begun as well. You know, this isn't, and I suppose there might be a little worry for Arsenal fans around, like, is this like an international tournament hype?
Yeah,
but this doesn't feel like that to me. This feels as though this is someone that Arsenal have been monitoring for a while. And I bet if we go back and look at old reports, you'll probably find his names come up in the last year. It's just that not a lot of people knew who the fuck he was.
Yeah,
and the Euros are sort of highlighted. And, you know, I mean, Joshua Zirkzee, you mentioned him. The reports that have come out today are suggesting that deal is imminent, that deal is very, very close to happening. I feel a bit sorry for Bologna, who had a very good season by their own sort of looking at their own history and standards, have lost, potentially are going to lose two of their best players, but both could be coming to the Premier League. But so again, Zirkzee's not actually, it's not just because Zirkzee had a good season last year or he hasn't really featured at the Euros. Man United, Arsenal, and Chelsea have all been linked to Zirkzee now for a good 18 months or so. So these are talented players that Bologna picked up ahead of time and are now just being sort of plucked away from Bologna because there is more money elsewhere and, you know, there's potentially more ambition. So, yeah, I think you guys have picked up a good player, and I'm excited about the prospects of Zirkzee as well. A very different profile, a very different style of number 9 to that of Rasmus Højlund. I don't think Rasmus is ready to play for us week in, week out yet. We saw towards the end of last season when he was coming on from the bench, he was having far more impact in games. But I also like the fact that we're not signing someone that's similar to him in terms of how he plays football. I think it gives us a different dimension. It means they can play together at times. And that's, like yourselves, that's looking to be somewhere between a 35 and 40 million pound deal. And considering how expensive transfers are at the moment, I mean, West Ham have just spent 40 million pounds on Max Kilman, who's a good player. I'm not saying he isn't a good player. He's a decent football player. But, you know, getting someone like Calafiori, getting someone with the talent of a Joshua Zirkzee for less money than a Max Kilman, I think, for me, that's decent.